Okay, we'll start with this. What is Clarissa Shields' response to not just 50 Cent, but those who commented under an unflattering image that he posted of her when she was very young? It didn't even dawn on me that it was a backhanded compliment, because in the caption he said that he's actually a fan of Clarissa and he's gonna leave her alone because he knows she's got a big fight coming up. Under the unflattering image that he posted of her when she was very young. And as usual on the internet, a lot of people had a lot of not so nice things to say. It would seem that Clarissa is responding not only to him, but those people saying, please, y'all want to run with the ugly narrative so bad. I was 17 years old, fighting for my entire country, and had an Olympic gold medal around my neck. Of course I glowed up. And I'm going to always be focused, no matter what. Like always. I understand that 50 Cent has given Clarissa that to which she can respond to, but I also understand that these knee-jerk reactions from her never take very long, highlighting that whatever is said about her publicly, whatever it is and whoever it's from, it gets under her skin pretty easily. She continued, boy, y'all hate everything about blackness.
What?
Being black, black women, black support, black unity, black noses, black asses.
What?
It's really sad. I'm never joining the hate train of my own people. I didn't wear a full face of makeup until I was 24 years old. Still beautiful and still blessed. Is she trying to say that the only people that have been taking shots at her are people of a different race, and the only reason they're doing so is because they hate all things black? She needs to wake up and smell the comments. Smell the content. This recent string of content creators that don't normally cover the sport of boxing, but all of a sudden started covering her, are the same race as her. Who the fuck does she think is making all these videos about her and Pap and 50? Cletus in West Virginia? Zeke and his kissing cousins in the Appalachians? It's people from her own community that got the same complexion that she does, and she's gonna have a hell of a hard time hiding behind the race card when they're the same race as she is. So maybe what it is that a lot of these people of different denominations don't like about you isn't what you're saying it is. You just say that so you can try to control the narrative. That if you've got some sort of issue with Clarissa, it's your issue because something's wrong with you. You're the bigot. That ain't gonna work. The further out she ventures from the boxing space into the hip-hop space, the more she'll find that the etiquette is entirely different and the people are just as, if not more, rude than she is. Down to say some stuff that is downright hurtful, but she's the one so starved for attention. Now she's getting it. Though making it seem like the only ones who would have anything negative to say, anything at all, are a bunch of bigots. That's just a bunch of bullshit. It's the house of cards that you built that is now crumbling when you realize that you're outside of the boxing space and everybody out there isn't gonna grovel at your feet. They're not gonna kiss your ass or step on eggshells when they talk to you or about you. Because they don't have to. Been thinking about what is Clarissa Shields going to do after the Franchon Cruz rematch that is tantamount to cold product since nobody was asking for it. What comes after that? That whole bit about her making $2 million per fight as a result of her new deal with Win Records was little more than just a bluff. A bargaining strategy intended to get somebody else's promoter, should they want to use her, to match what is supposed to be her contract minimum, though I expect it to backfire because what they're going to tell her is, if you've got all the money and you're the A-side, you make the offers. At which point she won't, because the whole goddamn deal is fugazi. She's no history of kicking out big purses to her opponents, and because of that, they're not going to move up the fighter for peanuts on the dollar. The fights aren't going to happen, is what I'm getting at, and she's already campaigning in barren weight classes. So what comes after the Franchon Cruz fight? A pregnancy, maybe? She has mentioned it in the past, and now is about as good a time as any for her to pop out a kid. Her biological clock is ticking, and it's not like she's swamped with big-time fights or big-time offers. I could see her parlaying a pregnancy. Trying to, at least. Into some sort of love and hip-hop kind of deal. Love and hip-hop situation, not dissimilar from what her beau Pap already had with Remy Martin some years ago when they were together. I think Clarissa's looking for that kind of an arrangement. I only wonder if Papoose, at 47 years old, is actually in the market for another child. Is he really that committed to his relationship with Clarissa that he would want her to be the mother of his child? By now, he has to have become aware of what public statements she's already made and what she would like to do in the not-so-distant future, which would presumably involve him and his sperm. Ugh. There just isn't enough to do at the weights where she campaigns, and she herself doesn't want to cut weight. She doesn't want to move down, but she doesn't have enough money to bring anybody up. So she goes in there, she beats Fran Chon again in their rematch next month. What the fuck is she gonna do after that?
Pop a kid out.
Just seems like something she would do, something she would want to. We'll see what happens. In men's super lightweight news ahead of this weekend's title fight, champion Subriel Matias promises to make Dalton Smith quit. It won't go past 10 rounds. Dalton Smith is a tough and proud man. At no point has the thought of quitting ever crossed his mind. Subriel Matias can appreciate his warrior mentality. However, he doesn't believe that trend will continue when they lock horns for Matias's WBC 140-pound title this Saturday. I think he's gonna quit, Matias told FightHype.com recently. I don't think it'll go past 10.
I don't think so either.
You say that quitting has never crossed Dalton Smith's mind. I'm pretty sure it didn't cross Jeremiah Ponce's mind or Shohan Ergashev before they fought Subriel Matias. It's not a thought I expect them to entertain. It's a thought I expect them to have beaten into them, because that's how it happened. Winning by any means necessary has been a consistent theme for Dalton Smith. He's stressed when asked about the matchup during an extended build-up. Venue and date changes from November to January mean the ring's number 7 rated junior welterweight contender will venture to Brooklyn's Barclays Center for a rare fight on the road and his first professional appearance outside of Europe. He added wins over Walid Usyk and Mathieu Germain in 2025, building momentum to boost his confidence after many took note of how easily he bulldozed former title challenger Jose Zepeda.
Yeah, but Jose was shot. He had already had the war with Ivan Baranchyk by then and the knockout loss to Regis Prograis.
It's nothing against Dalton Smith, but I wouldn't write home about the version of Jose Zepeda that he encountered. Subriel Matias relishes a chance to break another man's will, and for most of his career, opponents have wilted under the relentless pressure with the record to show for it. Still, those knockouts haven't pushed his ego over a delusional edge. While he believes he possesses more punching power than Smith, he's not naive in thinking that he's the only one who can end their fight with a single shot, making for an intriguing watch. I don't think this fight is going to make it 12 rounds, Matias said. He's got the style and power to knock me out, and I can too. So it's not going to make it the distance. A very realistic evaluation of the fight from the reigning champion, who I expect to keep his title. I expect Subriel to win. I think that Dalton is a good fighter and a solid fighter, though for me, not battle-tested enough for this assignment. Who did he really fight so far that would have prepared him?
For God's sake, it's his first fight outside of Europe.
Not to be presumptuous, but the fight that Subriel had with Alberto Puello is still fresh in my mind. Alberto Puello is a big 140 and a durable 140 and a polished boxer to boot, and he had a hell of a hard time shaking Subriel Matias.
Trying to keep him off and trying to use the ring, trying to walk him into punches, and at times he did, none of which discouraged him. He kept coming forward, and I imagine Dalton Smith trying to hold back that kind of a storm, and I just don't think he can.
He packs a punch. Maybe he is strong enough to get Subriel's attention with a single shot, but I just don't see him knocking Subriel out. Subriel's got flat feet and leaky defense. He can be hit,
but he is durable, and he is a good physical specimen.
Argentina's Jeremiah Ponce hit him plenty before he bit the big one. The same applies to Shohan Ergashev. He landed plenty of punches on Subriel before he bit the big one.
How do we know Dalton can't go in there and replicate the performance that Liam Botto put on?
We don't know.
So how are you counting him out so easily?
It's not easy. I'm just not convinced of Dalton Smith. Not in that way, to where I think he can upset the champion in New York.
Sorry.
Ticket information has been made available ahead of the fight on Saturday. Tickets that haven't budged an inch.
For a show that costed Fresh Productions approximately $1.9 million to put on, $1.9 million that they don't seem to be getting back at the gate and likely won't get back at the box office, making it all the more a mystery why they decided to pay for this themselves when they could have just let Matchroom do it. They made it a point to stake that $1.9 million against whatever it was that Matchroom put up at the purse bid, and they managed to beat them out.
But now they have to bear the brunt of the impact, the burden of this show if it flops. And it looks like it's going to. You can only hope that they're laundering somebody's drug money.
What?
Well, where the fuck does a small, local promotional outfit from Puerto Rico that has no network deal with anybody find $1.9 million?
And that's how it usually works. When Matchroom does a show, it's because DAZN is giving them a budget to do one. It's the same with Golden Boy. Who the fuck is giving Fresh Productions a budget to do this?
Local drug dealers in Puerto Rico?
It's inexplicable and another testament to just how unstable an industry this is.
Just the Wild Wild West. It's a fucking crapshoot. And the sad part is, this is actually a really good fight. Matias versus Smith has all the makings of a shootout, and ideally, you would see this as part of a regular schedule of fights, not behind a paywall. You shouldn't have to pay-per-view.
It's insanity.
At a price point of $59.99 in the United States, about the same price as what you gotta pay to see Stevenson versus Lopez.
It's insanity.
For a card with a lot less star power than that. It's insanity. I'm going to tell you what, that I'm actually going to buy the card, even though I don't advise that anybody else do the same. This is not value for money. For me,
as a content creator, it's a flip. I can make the money back during the live stream, but for the rest of yous,
you'd be pouring your hard-earned dollars down the drain buying this thing. It's the only fight card on Saturday night.
I wonder if Eddie Hearn is going to fly out in support of Dalton Smith. Is he going to be there? Because it doesn't look like anybody else is.
All those empty chairs at the Barclays Center are in for a show.
In for a treat. This is going to be a barn burner.
Tell you what, that if they can't get anybody to buy some tickets at the very last minute, they may as well give them away for atmosphere. Let somebody be there to take this fight in. Let somebody be there when Subriel racks up another highlight reel knockout, because that is what I'm expecting. I like Dalton Smith, and I think he's a solid fighter, but I'm not convinced he can stand up to the pressure from Subriel Matias.
So I've got Subriel by way of knockout, and we'll see if the prediction sticks.
Men's heavyweight news, Alexander Usyk said 2 or 3 more fights then I'll retire. Usyk looks like he still has plenty left in his gas tank. At 38, the Ring Magazine, WBA, WBC, and IBF heavyweight champion barely broke a sweat when knocking out Daniel Dubois in the 5th round of their Wembley Stadium encounter last summer. Usyk holds the top pound-for-pound spot on the Ring's rankings, regardless of how great he continues to look. The future Hall of Famer doesn't plan on fighting for too much longer, nor should he. Frankly, I think this fight with Wilder is overkill. Is this what's keeping you around, beating up Bambi?
He pounces on that guy like everybody's expecting him to. That is, everybody with a functioning brain cell.
Who is he supposed to fight for 2 or 3 more fights after that, especially when you've already dropped the brown belt and given it to Fabio Wortley?
Nothing against that decision, by the way, because if they would have fought, I think Usyk would have still beat him.
Though if you are in a place where you're dropping alphabet titles, what are you in it for? I think 2 or 3 more fights, Usyk told Ring Magazine's Mike Coppinger before he hangs up the gloves. Usyk could make another run at becoming an undisputed champion by reclaiming the WBO title he gave up last year. He's been undisputed 3 times, including once at cruiser in 2018 before moving up in weight. So the author of the article figures that he's going to do with Fabio Wortley what he already did with Daniel. He gave Daniel the IBF title, then circled back to win it from him.
He's gonna do that with Fabio?
His decision to relinquish the WBO strap allowed Fabio Wortley, who beat Joseph Parker for the interim, to become a full-fledged world champion. Sergey Lapine, Usyk's manager, said his client wanted younger fighters to have that opportunity. Before Usyk attempts to regain it, he has his sights set on former WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder. I want the fight with Wilder, he said. Wilder hasn't looked dangerous in a very long time, losing 4 of his last 6 fights. Circumstances of that fight coming together have become somewhat of an errant mystery, because by now we know there is no involvement from His Excellency Turkey LL Sheikh, Riyadh Season, or Ring Magazine. So who's supposed to be paying for this to all come together? Because by now, Usyk's not going to fight for peanuts on the dollar, and neither is Wilder.
Not at their ages.
Usyk's team is already in deep negotiations with the 40-year-old Wilder to make it happen in the coming months, with Los Angeles and Las Vegas as potential options. You think about that fight and who could potentially be at the helm of the promotion, that also dictates who boxes on the undercard. What fighters are we going to see on it? You don't get the impression that this is a PBC show or a top-ranked show, especially not a Golden Boy show. It would take a lot of money to bring Usyk and Wilder together. So who in America has a lot of money?
Matchroom's got money, but not that much. I don't get the impression they're the ones behind this. I get the impression that it might be Zuffa. In the effort to make a splash and increase their brand power, they might put on a fight with two familiar names, two recognizable fighters.
A lot of people may not have noticed that it's actually been a very long time since a heavyweight title was contested for in the United States. I think the last time that happened was 5 years ago, in October of 2021, when Tyson Fury fought Deontay Wilder for the third time, that time as the defending champion. And since then, no heavyweight title has been contested for on U.S. soil. So the appeal here would be bringing back heavyweight boxing to America,
even if all the major players in the landscape right now are largely international.
That is what Deontay Wilder is for. For those overly sentimental American boxing fans who are still holding out hope that he might be able to pull a hat trick.
Sure.
There are a lot of content creators who not that long ago were all for Deontay Wilder and putting him on a pedestal, but their evaluations of that fighter did not last the test of time. He did not live up to be who they said he was, and I don't think that's gonna all of a sudden change now that he's 40.
He's lost all the snap in his punches, all the suddenness, all the explosiveness. He's not who he was.
The fight has been beaten out of him. He has effectively been humbled, and that spiritual journey via ayahuasca really didn't help, because what that's intended to do is bring you closure.
Bring you peace. But is that the best thing for somebody who's in combat sports?
May sound somewhat sadistic, but that internal turmoil that an individual may be wrestling with from day to day may actually make them a better fighter, a more dangerous fighter. Not dissimilar from how substance abuse sometimes makes for a better musician, better music.
James Hetfield was a lot more fun when he was an alcoholic.
All I'm saying is that whatever Deontay Wilder was a couple of years ago, he's not those things now. He may be a different man. And even if he's getting this big opportunity,
I mean, I don't think he was ever on the level of an Alexander Usyk, but least of all now, after all the surgeries and all the beatings, and he's
40 years old. You're not going to get snappier. Your punches, your reflexes, they're not going to get faster. And the only real appeal of watching Usyk share the ring with this character is it'll give Usyk the chance to make him eat his words, because according to Wilder, Usyk was avoiding him.
Set to go down sometime later on this year, in the spring, in either Las Vegas or somewhere in California. We'll see.